Hello and welcome back to the New York studio. I am your host, Casey Gillette, at least for the next 30 minutes. This is my last session of Global Marketing Day before I turn it over to our next host. Thank you all so much for watching, for taking part. 2 cities, we're in our 2.5 city. To enhance your experience, if you haven't already, check out the hashtag Global Marketing Day. If you have questions, globalmarketingday.com. It's been really active. It's been really cool to see everything coming in. We have a great panel coming up, a great presentation. We have Lee Ohn, CEO of Top Rank Marketing. He's going to share 10 exercises to build your marketing beach body. I love this presentation for a number of reasons, but basically talking about the bad habits that make your content marketing unhealthy. Just a really unique view on how fitness can firm up your content ROI. Following that, we have 2 great panelists. We have Paul Shapiro, Senior Partner, Head of SEO at Catalyst, and also Barry Schwartz, CEO of Rusty Brick. Paul specializes in technical SEO for Fortune 500 companies, and he's the founder of the industry's first technical SEO conference, Tech SEO Boost. Barry's the CEO of Rusty Brick, a New York web service firm. You've probably seen him online. He does all things search. So, Lee, why don't you kick us off?
All right, great. Well, I'm really looking forward to this. This is presentation has a lot of personal undertones just because of the journey for marketing and the journey for fitness have a lot to do with each other. So let's get to it. So I'm wondering, everyone who's watching, have you ever started a diet? Yeah, who hasn't? And have you ever slipped? Yeah, we justify that by calling it cheat day, right? Everyone has slipped. How many people have started an exercise program only to have stopped? And this was me at 7 a.m. this morning. I should have gotten up and run. It took me until 8 o'clock instead. I think what I've found and what a lot of people have found, what it takes to be healthy and fit has a lot of parallels to content marketing, to marketing in general. But unfortunately, there are challenges. There's research that's been done by Content Marketing Institute marketing profs that shows that marketers are challenged to create a variety of content on an ongoing basis. And buyers have issues with content too. There's a study reported by eMarketer that shows that a lot of buyers feel like content isn't personalized enough. It's too fluffy, it doesn't make sense, it's salesy, it's hard to find because people are putting it behind a form. It's just ridiculous and very frustrating. I wish I had a guitar because I'd be bashing it too. Now, these are some bad habits that lead to, poor health. Bad habits that range from taking an operational and analytical and process-driven approach to marketing, not thinking more about the craft or the quality. And this is something I can personally relate to. 2018, I was not healthy. And I was prone to wearing strange fur hats. That's an Alaskan hat, not a Russian hat, by the way. And over 270 pounds. And fast forward to 2019, it got much, much healthier and started wearing cooler hats. And I learned in my transformation, it taught me a lot of lessons about marketing in that optimizing with diet and exercise isn't so much the goal, but it's part of the journey. And the steps that it takes to transform yourself physically are many of the same steps you would take to transform your marketing operation. Understanding what the challenge is, setting goals, making a plan, getting the right technology or gear, making a commitment, being agile, being accountable, and of course, measuring and optimizing for success. These are all things that are true, whether you're trying to be healthier or whether you're trying to be successful with marketing. And that's exactly what my team does at Top Rank Marketing. We do some heavy lifting for major B2B brands from SAP to LinkedIn. In fact, we've been doing content marketing for Content Marketing World Conference for the last 7 years. So what we've learned out of all that, what I'm going to share with you today is that marketing, like fitness, it's a journey. And this paradigm shift is really, really important for a lot of people who are overwhelmed with options when it comes to what to do, what to be successful with when it comes to marketing. Because what most people are doing to get healthy from a physical fitness standpoint just isn't working. They're doing all these starts up, like let's try a keto diet, or let's try CrossFit, let's try intermittent fasting, let's try high intensity interval training, and so on and so forth. Always jumping from one thing to the next, whether it's a diet or an exercise regimen. And then when you take a look at what marketers are doing, it's not any better, right? Let's do an ebook, let's do a webinar. Oh look, our competition just published a report. Let's do that. Or, hey, let's host an event. And the same thing applies. Like, hey, let's do SEO. Oh, 2 months went by. It's not working. Let's do social media. Oh, it's not working. Let's do ads. It's not working. Let's do influencers. Oh, it's not working. And they jump from thing to thing to thing. And it just stinks. And it just doesn't work. So what does work? Long-term, always-on commitment. Integrated, sequential, always-on marketing means that you can create momentum and you can become the best answer for your customers everywhere they might be looking. So, how do we do that? Well, I'm going to share quickly 10 steps, 10 marketing exercises that you can take to create an always-on, always optimized marketing effort. So let's start. First thing, we've got to understand what's in the mind of the customers. Now, too many agencies and marketing practitioners are simply executing what they do, what they know, not taking into account what the customer actually cares about. So it's very important that we collect customer insights. We understand what their goals are, what are the pain points that they're trying to solve for, and what are the things that influence them to make decisions. So I'm going to share with you a hypothetical example featuring a small business owner. And we understand through our research, our interviews with existing customers, our text analysis of forms people fill out when they visit our website, and other data sources like search and social CRM data, what's in her mind. She knows that her financial operations are inefficient. She knows that she wants to grow her business. She wants to free up her time, and she's wondering, will accounting software do that for me? So if we understand these things about this small business owner, we can then work backwards to understand what are the influences in her world as she discovers, consumes, and acts on information. And we can literally identify things like industry events, publications she might subscribe to, peer influencers, industry influencers, the search queries that she might be using, the social networks where she's having conversations, content types, content topics, and even special interest groups, forums, and industry associations she's a party to. Once we understand those data points and touch points, I should say, in terms of influence, then we can architect a strategy. So as we strengthen our strategy and understand our goals, in this case, we understand that through our research, small business owners, in this case, believe that marketing software is expensive. They don't really see the value in it. So our strategy is to compare commonly held ideas around investments that small business owners are already making and relate accounting software to that type of investment. And so our goals here would, of course, initially be to increase awareness because we're challenging the status quo. We will increase engagement and ultimately generate leads and revenue among small business customers. So we're going to turn that strategy into a plan. And because we're challenging status quo, we're going to have two different phases. Phase one is to challenge that status quo with industry experts that our target audience, the customers, already have confidence in, that they are listening to. And we're going to collaborate with those folks and through earned media and own media on the brand site, talk about why investments in making your business successful are smart, and one of them is investing in accounting software. Then we're going to do phase two. We're going to be more focused on driving leads and sales, and we're going to work with more middle funnel, end of funnel credibility and content and industry experts. Now, of course, once we identified our research, the pain points of our customer, and we develop a strategy, we've got to obviously associate our goals with KPIs and specific metrics. And it's very important that we always benchmark our starting points here so that we can compare our progress to those benchmark measurements and optimize as we go. Otherwise, at the end of a campaign, you might report that, oh, we got 50. 50 what? Is that good? How do we know? We didn't take a benchmark. So always take your benchmarks. And then it's not enough to articulate a strategy, but we've got to come up with a story because, functional, accurate, effective content is worth so much, but a story connects with people emotionally. So what will our story be in reaching these small business customers? Again, we're going to associate something that small business owners already invest in freely with the idea of investing in small business accounting software. So we're going to challenge that status quo, and maybe we come up with a campaign called Invest in Your Success campaign, where we talk about overall top investments small business owners can make to make their company more successful, one of which is investing in technology, investing in small business accounting software. So how does that manifest in the form of a campaign? Well, a lesson we learned from the SEO community is the value of a topic cluster, because people don't want to know about just one thing. They don't think about ideas in just one form. In fact, 15% of queries on Google on a daily basis have never been seen before, a statistic that was recently reinforced by a post on Google. And so it's important that we cover a derivative of topics around the main topic we're after, not just small business accounting software, but all the other ideas that go along with that. And we want to create an experience. So one way to create that experience is to get in the mind of the customer and think about the questions that are in their mind as they're trying to solve this problem of how to grow their business, how to free up their time, and how to make their financial operations more effective and efficient. And answer that question, do I need accounting software for my small business? And we have an opportunity to identify the kinds of content that our target audience would actually prefer. Once we identify those different content types, now we can associate different questions to be answered and topic ideas to be articulated with those different types of content, whether it's an ebook or a white paper, or a webinar or a blog post, an interview, a video, an infographic, a motion graphic, interactive, whatever, right? Now, what good is content that's easily found, because we are going to optimize this, of course, for search, if it's not credible. And one of the most valuable things you can do to add credibility, especially when you're challenging the status quo, is to associate your ideas, the brand ideas, with people who already have credibility and attention and respect from your target audience. And that is by collaborating with influencers, people who are already have authority, that are publishing content, have the attention of your customers. Now, not only can you collaborate with them to make content, but you can also work with them to distribute that content to people who are probably ignoring your ads, right? And this also aligns with your SEO initiatives, meaning the topics that you're doing keyword research on are the same topics you're going to use to find the right influencers, so that when people do find your content through search, it's going to be believable because it possesses the industry experts articulating advocacy around the ideas that you're communicating to your target audience, right? The seventh tip or step or exercise is back to that topic cluster. Now, how does our content manifest? There's a lot of different forms that it could manifest, but again, we're going to talk about our primary topic that the customer cares about, as well as the derivative topics. Now, I know that this could this could be published in a lot of different formats, right? I already rattled off a bunch of different content types. But one content type that I've found that is a really good representation of how you can integrate search, social, influence, and content is what I call, or what we call, the power page. So this is something that is very topic specific. This would be the definitive guide to small business accounting software. It's optimized for search, but of course, more importantly, it's optimized for customer experience. It goes very deep on the topic, everything you'd want to know. It literally answers the buyer questions as they understand the nature of a problem, as they look for solutions, as they look for comparisons with others, as well as they look for who to pick. It also includes related content, or at least links to related content. It includes quotes from internal and or external industry experts. It includes interactive or engaging elements, whether they're embedded video, embedded tools, quizzes or assessments, animations, that sort of thing. And of course, there are CTAs throughout to motivate them to take the next step, whatever it may be. Now, of course, again, that's not the only thing you can do, but there are a lot of, this is a very robust format that does well equally in search as it does in social and with human beings in creating a great customer experience. The eighth exercise, of course, is the idea of promotion. And with our power page, we have many, many different options in terms of promotion channels, right? Obviously, we can expect inbound attention through organic search, through organic social, and through influencers sharing to their networks, but we can also use earned media. We can pitch through media relations to industry publications. We can do contributed blog posts. We can work with our existing content partners, marketing partners, email, and so on and so forth. Of course, we can target through ads, paid search, paid social as well. And this is something, and I can't stress enough how important it is to take promotion into account before, during, and after, right? A lot of folks think of promotion as an afterthought. They're like, okay, we published this new thing. Now, how are we going to promote it? Oh, let's just throw some ad money at it. And they've lost or left a lot of money on the table. So pre-launch, obviously, we can make it easy for our industry experts to share by giving them information they can use to share with their networks, as well as queue up in their social channels. On launch, of course, you do all the things you normally do. Post-launch, we can repurpose or start a repurpose cycle in creating derivative content types. So we can start maybe with a webinar, then we can do to an ebook, or we can have blog posts, and we can have infographics, motion graphics, all repurposed. And then we can deconstruct our content into ingredient content, which I'll talk about next, and further extend the promotion opportunity. Back to metrics, there's a lot of things we can look at. Attract, engage, convert metrics, as well as influencer metrics. And then finally, we can repurpose our content through ingredient content. So if we can deconstruct our primary content into individual elements, we can then use those as ingredient content to architect new content formats long after the campaign is done. So, how did I lose 65 pounds and stay fit a year later? These are rules that are also applicable to marketing. Crawl, walk, run, right? Don't try and do everything all at once. And I literally had to start 5 minutes on a treadmill, and finally I just did a half marathon 2 days ago. It's amazing how much you can progress if you do it incrementally. And part of doing that incrementally is breaking big goals into mini goals. And in my case, I don't think there's a marketing version of this, but eat raw, and of what you eat raw state food and eat less. Be consistent and persistent, and make healthy eating and activity a habit. So create some new best practices and connect with others. I've actually started a Facebook group called Marketing Fitness. It's a very, it isn't about marketing at all. It's actually all about health and fitness, but it's all marketers that are in that group. So feel free to check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And there is a free, ungated, interactive microsite called B2B Marketing Fitness you can find on the screen, where you can get all kinds of insights from 16 industry experts on this topic and even more. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a lot. But I think it's important, right? Because content is a process. Eat raw, I'm not so sure about. I did want to go back to something you said. You're talking about the different types of content. And Barry, I'm going to start with you over here, because I know that you've done forums and blogs and social, and you've started doing some video. How can they determine what the right channel is for them when they're thinking about content?
I mean, if when you're starting out, there's no real clear way to say which channel is the most appropriate. You have to go with what you're comfortable with and what you feel you'll come off in terms of the most appropriate way and the most natural way. Because if you're not good on camera, then that video is not going to come out great. If you're not good at writing blog posts, that's not going to come out great. But if you're great on social media and posting small snippets on Twitter, or you're great with taking pictures on your phone, you can use Instagram. It really depends on what you feel most natural with. And as you become more natural with a certain platform, you can grow into other areas.
Yeah, and I think that goes to, I loved the question when you said, what works, right? What's success? What are some, and Paul, we can start with you here. What are some metrics that marketers should be looking at? Lee showed a couple KPIs, but what are the things that help marketers actually measure content success?
Sure, and every business has its own KPI. There's no uniform KPI. In general, we're optimizing for revenue. So that's a simple one, but I mean, what constitutes revenue is going to be different for every business. And then you look at secondary metrics, right? What is session? Those are things that lead to, that's the acquisition channels. Those are things that lead to those other KPIs. It's a simple answer, but that's sort of the answer, right?
Yeah. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
You always want to measure engagement. You want to measure all these things around your content. Is your content being read? Is it being shared? Outside of the revenue thing, it's obviously you want to produce as much content that gets as much engagement as possible, that hopefully will get engagement from people who would actually ultimately hit that buy button or convert on whatever metric you're trying to convert on.
And I think what's important there is you said, as much content that is successful, right? Not just producing as much content as possible, correct?
And you're into happy content, so.
Right. So this is for you, Lee, one of the questions that the audience sent in. And I think it would apply to a lot of people, and I've had clients ask the same question. So like those pillar pages, or the power pages as you call them, how do you create those and have your hub and spoke articles without creating duplicate content?
Sure. Well, When you're architecting the topic map or the topic cluster, you have that big idea on the Power Page, right? And then you can choose to talk about, think of a preview on the related topics, and then you can link off to the long form, in-depth version of that related topic. So really what you're doing is you're creating an entry point on your Power Page. You're giving the reader enough to be maybe satisfied and move on to the next step in the Power Page. But if they want to click through and go over into a deep dive on that related topic, then that's cross-linking over into another asset, whether it's a blog post or a video or something like that.
Good. And because we have a lot of SEO knowledge here on this panel, I want to direct this a little bit differently. It's still content marketing, but how are these changes that Google has been making changing your content marketing programs, or are they? And I guess, Barry, I'll start with you.
Yeah, some have argued that SEO has kind of created the content marketing space. And content has changed a lot over the years, especially in the SEO world. It used to be about creating as many long-tail keyword pages as much as possible in order to get as much traffic as possible across as many keyword variations. And then when the Google Panda algorithm came out, people started to kind of build out better, more deep content that answered the query better. And that's what this whole, I guess, pillar page concept came from, is building out a site or a page that answers the query at a higher level and that gives people deeper knowledge through deeper content, articles, spokes, or whatever you want to call them. And a lot of people I've been talking to recently have all been on this bandwagon about this is how we create content. We create this really good summary overview page, a pillar page that has a lot of depth to it when you click on to get more information. And I think if you look at a lot of medical sites, a lot of different sites like that, they all have that kind of format, at least the ones that are ranking at Google. So
yeah, and Paul, same question, especially you work on the agency side.
Sure.
So how has this impacted what clients are doing?
Yeah, I mean, talking back to sort of like the history of SEO, like when people were doing that, it was essentially we were trying to hack Google, right? And I think we've known as SEOs for a long time that that's not the way to do things, and this is not new, and it's been years, and I mean I've been doing very similar things to what Lee is describing for a long time now, and I don't know that the role of the content strategist and the content marketer is very different than an SEO nowadays in some ways, but I mean that's been my approach as well for a long time, and like the hub page makes a lot of sense from an SEO perspective as well as sort of like the user perspective as well, because you just think about links, right? You think about links, like the links are going to be going to that main page, and things are going to sort of be distributed down. So I think it's a win-win in all directions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what's interesting is that that topic cluster business is something that I know in our case we've been doing without SEO, meaning that in the content marketing community, while it's ripe for optimization because that's what you're optimizing with content and links. But interesting, there are many content marketing campaigns where SEO just wasn't in the mix, and that topic cluster business came because of doing research about what customers wanted and mapping the journey as they went from understanding the nature of a problem to investigating how it might work for them and what their options were. And so that cluster actually came out of that, in my case, and then to see prominent and competent SEOs actually also talking about that was like, wow, this is awesome. This is great.
it actually goes one step deeper in terms of if you look at how the original search engines were designed, they actually designed their indexes, which are the databases, around topics and clusters, which is similar to how content is now has been written for a while. So.
So we have about 1 minute left, and I want to end on this. So this question came in, and I think it's fantastic. Which trendy content marketing strategy should people avoid? So do you want to start us off?
Trendy content marketing strategy? Just making, the idea that more is better is ridiculous. Ultimately, experience is the number one predictor of success when you look at something long term. What kind of experience are you creating for your customers? So being able to map that out and then deliver on it and then continue to collect the data to help you iterate, that's got to be your norm, that's got to be your status quo, versus simply creating a checklist and cranking out a page for every keyword or something silly like that.
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, what's trendy right now? Like, I feel like...
Well, we've talked about,
Yeah.
so far on the panels, we've talked about like TikTok, we've talked about video, some people talked about, like creating content for like voice search, things like that.
Yeah, this sounds like more of like an SEO question to me because we're the worst. Like, I mean, I feel like a couple of years ago, like it was everyone was doing like the roundup posts, and I think those still make sense when they make sense, as long as you're not sort of like forcing your way into doing that, and that's what the audience wants. There's advantages to doing things like that. So I'm going to speak a little bit more broadly and say, do what makes sense. Trendy or not, some things make more sense than others at a given time and for a given business.
Sure.
I hate those posts that basically say, here's how to do X in 5 minutes or less. And then it's like, how do you hack how to lose 50 pounds in 5 minutes or less? It doesn't happen that way, like Lee was saying. And to see those YouTube videos or those pieces of content or Instagram posts that here's your answer in 5 seconds, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was such a great panel. I want to thank our guests, Lee Oden, CEO of Top Rank Marketing, Barry Schwartz, CEO of Rusty Brick, and Paul Shapiro, Senior Partner, Head of SEO at Catalyst. Thank you to all of our participants online, everyone that's been here in the studio. Please keep using the hashtag Global Marketing Day. I'm Casey Gillette. This is my last session. We're going to pass it on to Lee. He's switching seats and taking over hosting duties. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, SEMrush, and we'll see you later.